So let's talk about how to add fractions. It's going to follow the same sign rules as part one. So same signs, add and keep, different signs, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger one, and then you'll be exact. But there's a couple of extra steps that we'll need to take a look at. I'll be using two highlighters and a regular pen, which my blue is like your pencil, and a colored pen to help me keep my steps straight. So let's take a look. When you're working with fractions, the first thing that you want to do is convert any mixed numbers into improper fractions. And then you also want to make sure that you check for a common denominator. So let's talk about what this is going to look like. Here in this first problem, we can see we have -2/5. That's just a regular fraction. Nothing fancy about that. But this one here, 1 2/5, is what we call a mixed number because it has a whole number and a fraction together in one. So we need to convert that into an improper fraction. How do we do that? Well, remember from pre-algebra that we're going to take our denominator and we're going to multiply it times the whole number. So in this case, 5 times 1 is 5, and then we're going to add the numerator. So 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. So this mixed number is actually going to be 5/7 as an improper fraction. Still positive, and my other fraction comes down. Now once you've converted any mixed numbers to improper fractions, the important thing to look for here is the denominator. In order to add fractions, the denominators need to be the same. If they are the same, you're good to go. Just add straight across. So -2 and +7. Different signs, subtract. So 7 minus 2 is 5. Keep the sign of the bigger one. In this case, it's 7, so my answer is positive. And we're going to keep that denominator that is the same. 5/5 can be reduced to 1, and we are done. Let's take a look at 59. Here we have a mixed number in the first slot and a mixed number in the second slot, so we're going to need to change both of those. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So this is going to be 7/2, and it's negative. Here we have 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So we have 8/3. So we've converted from mixed numbers into improper fractions, but now we can see that we do not have common denominators. We have 2 and 3. So what's a number that we can get 2 and 3 to go into evenly? Well, 6. So how are we going to make 6? 6 is going to be our common denominator. We're going to do that. To make 6 with 2, we'd have to multiply by 3. But if we multiply on the bottom, we have to multiply on the top as well. Over here, we can multiply by 2, but if we multiply on the bottom, we have to multiply on the top as well, because in algebra, it's all about keeping everything balanced and making sure that we haven't added a new something into the puzzle. So we want to make sure that we're keeping everything balanced and even here. Once we do that, my denominator here will be 6, because 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times -7 is going to be -21. Then for my other fraction, I have 3 times 2 is 6 in my denominator, and 8 times 2 is 16 in my numerator. Now I can see that my denominators are the same, so I can go ahead and add straight across. -21, +16, different signs, subtract. So that's going to be 5. Keep the sign at the bigger one. In this case, 21 is bigger, so mine at 5 is negative. And then keep your common denominator, and you're done. Let's take a look at another one. For number 60, I have a mixed number here and a mixed number here. So let me go ahead and convert those first. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So 3/2, and it's negative. Here I have 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5/3, and it's negative as well. Now I look for common denominators. I've got 2 and 3. Well, that won't work, but I remember from problem 59 that my common denominator for 2 and 3 is going to be 6. So here I'll multiply by 2 on the top and bottom, and here I'll multiply by 3 on the top and the bottom, because I want to try to get the same number in both fractions. So when I multiply, this fraction becomes a denominator of 6, and 3 times 3 is 9, and it'll be negative. And then I have -5 times 2 is -10, 3 times 2 is 6. So now my denominators are the same, and I can add straight across. -9, -10 Gives me negative 19 over 6. Done. Let's take a look at number 62, because this one doesn't look like it has a fraction, but it actually does. Here we have a mixed number, and we'll convert that in just a minute. But I want to look at this negative 2. Remember, anytime you have a whole number, you can turn it into a fraction by dividing by 1. Make the denominator 1, because it doesn't change the number itself, it just changes the format so that we can use it in a different context. So instead of just negative 2, this is going to be negative 2 over 1. And here I have 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18. It'll be negative and 5. Add those together. Well, I have a problem because my two denominators are not the same. So my denominators aren't the same, but that's okay, because anytime you have a 1 as a denominator, it makes it really easy to match it up with another denominator. I'm just going to multiply this one by 5 over 5. So now my new fraction over here is going to have a denominator of 5 and a numerator of 5 times negative 2, which is negative 10. And my other fraction will stay the same. Now that my denominators are the same, I can just add straight across. So negative 10 plus negative 18, same signs, add and keep. 10 plus 18 is 28 over 5, and keep the sign. So negative 28 over 5. Now, if you feel like you're comfortable with this, feel free to pause the video and do the rest on your own. If you'd like to see a couple more examples, I'm going to keep working through just a few more so that you can see how this process works. Remember, if you decide to pause and work on your own, fast forward through the next little section of the video so you can check your answers against mine. Let's keep working. Okay, so we're going to do 64. I have a mixed number and not a mixed number. Cool. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12 over 5, and it's a negative. Plus, this one just stays the same. Now, my denominators are not the same, so I need to make them the same. So what number can I multiply 5 and 3 and get the same number? 15. If I want to get 15, I have to multiply 3 by 5, because 3 times 5 is 15, on the top and the bottom. If I want 15, I have to multiply 5 by 3. So I'll do 3 over 3 on that side. Now, my new denominator is 15. 3 times negative 12 is negative 36. Here, my new denominator is 15, and my new numerator is negative 1 times 5, which is negative 5. Now my denominators are the same, 15 and 15, and I can go straight across. Negative 36 and negative 5. Same signs, add and keep. So this becomes 41, keep the negative, and my denominator is 15. All set. All right, let's journey back up here to 61. So we have a regular fraction here, nothing's going to change there. Then we have a mixed number that we need to convert to an improper fraction. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And it's going to be a negative, and I'm adding them together. Awesome, my denominators are the same, so I don't have to do anything fancy there. I just add straight across. Positive 1 and negative 7. Different signs, subtract. 7 minus 1 is 6. Keep the sign of the bigger one, so it's negative, and my denominator is 2. Now this will reduce to negative 3, and I would like to see you always reduce if you can. Let's take a look at 63. Here I only have one mixed number. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 7 over 2, and it's negative. Here, I'm just going to bring this fraction down. Now, I need a common denominator between 5 and 2. That's easy. That'll be 10. On the right, I'll multiply by 5, and on the left, I'll multiply by 2. So now, I have 10 in my denominator, and 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 10 in my denominator, and negative 7 times 5 is negative 35. So now I can just go straight across. Negative 6 and negative 35, that gives me 41, and it's going to be negative because same signs, add and keep. So 41, keep the negative. My denominator is still 10, and I'm good to go. Let's take a look at one more, 65. Mixed number. Denominator times the whole number, so 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Keep the 3, and it's a negative. This one's going to stay the same. Now, my denominators are not the same. What common denominator can I use for 3 and 5? 15. So if I want 15, on this side I'm going to have to multiply by 5. And on this side I'm going to have to multiply by 3, because I'm trying to get this 15, this common number. And if I do that, then my new denominator here is 15, and 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Here, my new denominator is 15, and negative 9 times 3 is negative 27. So now I can just add straight across because my denominators are the same. So same signs, add and keep. 20 and 27 gives me 47. Keep the negative sign. And my denominator will be 15. All right, that was a lot of fraction work. Remember, you've done fractions before. I know they're a little awkward and a little cumbersome sometimes, but stick with it. You will get them. So continue on and do these last 4 on your own, and come to class ready to discuss them if you have any questions. Have a great night.